Hi, welcome to today's workout at Mind Body Reset Gym. Today we're going to talk about resistance and how to turn resistance into resilience. If you'll recall, there's 5 major reasons that we don't follow through with our plans, whether they be food plans, exercise plans, even plans of the day. And there's 5 reasons that's in a different video, but these reasons collectively are called resistance. And we're going to understand better where they originate and how to take care of them. Usually resistance originates in childhood. And the harder your adverse childhood experiences are, the more resistance we tend to have. Resistance often originates from abuse or neglect, and it is a way that we use to protect ourselves. They were created to help us survive and help us be protected. They can also originate out of any other life trauma or loss, and so it's not just childhood, but when it originates in childhood, it's a little harder to understand or remember because we were just children at the time. When we get stuck in those childhood spots, we are not aware of our current resources, and we just have the resources that we had available back then. And if you think about your childhood and the resources that you had versus the resources you have now, you can see that there's a lot of things you didn't have back then. You didn't have your own home, you didn't have a partner, you didn't have your license, you didn't have a job, you didn't have education, plus a lot of other life experiences that you didn't have. And when these protective mechanisms were created, they used all of the resources that they had at their disposal, but they don't update their resources because they're not aware that they have them. Consequently, when things get bad in the present, those times kind of take over. They kind of move in and take over and try to get their protective survival needs met. And I'll explain how that's done in just a second. Trauma causes parts of us, however old we were at the time of the trauma, to stay stuck on our timeline. Our timeline is simply representative of the day, from the day we were born to the day that we die. If you look at your whole life as laid out in a timeline, it could be a straight line, it could be lots of curves, it could be really hilly, but every time there is a major trauma along that line, a part of us kind of gets stuck there. It's there to bookmark that place as a place that we need to come back to and heal from later. And so along our timeline, you've got these little parts of us that are stuck there, and they are stuck with the resources that they had at the time, and they don't heal because they're stuck. And they can be healed, and they can update their resources and skills, and that's what we're going to learn how to do. And that's an important part of becoming resilient out of our resistances or out of the hard times that we had. This is the basic overview of how to heal those stuck parts, and then there'll be a more detailed visualization in another place on this website. So when you experience a craving or going off planned food event that's not due to hunger, notice how old you feel. Remember what was going on in your life in that time frame, and you may or may not know. You might have to be intuitively guided by a feeling, and then let your adult self talk to your younger self and move down to that spot on your timeline and talk your younger self through that situation using the resources you have at the present, and that the younger self didn't have access to and doesn't even know that they exist. And then after you've explained to the younger self that it's okay, letting the younger you know how the story turns out, because she doesn't or he doesn't know, and so explaining that everything works out, then you can bring that younger self to the present, where you can work with that younger you to heal that younger you and eventually integrate into your adult self. I'll give you an example of that. I had a client that would just, for no apparent reason, feel really, really depressed, really lonely, and really sad, kind of hopeless. And her life was great. It made no sense to her mind that she was feeling this way. But when she'd get this feeling, it would come out of nowhere, and it was really intense. So we did this exercise with her, and when we went back along her timeline, she felt 5 years old. And I asked her what happened at 5, and she said, well, my dad left when I was 5 years old and didn't come back. And I thought that it was my fault. I thought it was my job to take care of my mom, and it was just really, really hard for me. And I didn't know how to do it. I did the best I could all my life, but my mom was really a basket case, and she wasn't able to really care for me until I was in my teenage years. So mom went offline for quite a while. And so her 5-year-old kind of got stuck there developmentally and emotionally, and the rest of her grew up. But there was a part of her that bookended that spot on her timeline. Didn't know that my client married a wonderful man. They had a family. She was a great mom. She didn't do the neglect that her mom did, but her little 5-year-old was just stuck there. So her adult self came back along the timeline, met her 5-year-old, introduced herself as the person she grows up to be, and the 5-year-old looked at her like she couldn't believe it. She didn't really trust her, but they talked for a few minutes, and then emotionally that 5-year-old just jumped up on her lap and got a big hug. And then the client brought her to the present, where they were able to heal her together. The two of them healed, and she integrated into the adult, which is the whole purpose. That intense urge to eat off plan that just came from nowhere went away after this experience. So my client nailed where it originated, and it's absolutely able to heal. So for your workout today, when you have an uncomfortable feeling and you want to go off your plan, practice asking yourself how old you feel. Go back along your timeline, introduce yourself to that stuck part, help them understand what was happening at the time and how it turned out, and then bring them to the present. And again, go to the timeline visualization in the special resources section of the gym if you want me to walk you through a visualization to help you get there. Once you start doing this work, you'll find a lot of stuck parts, and you'll find how easy it is to bring them to the present and to heal them. One other thing about this subject, though, sometimes when you ask yourself, well, how old do I feel? The answer will be, I feel my age. I feel like I'm an adult. And so what you want to do is you want to reach out to the future you and ask the future you to please help the present you live in your own wisdom and integrity and stay on your plan, because in the future you will really appreciate and acknowledge the benefits of that. So that's all for the workout. You're welcome to go to the special resources section of the gym, find timeline visualization, and take about 15 or 20 minutes and do that visualization. Enjoy your day, enjoy your week, and we'll see you next time.